What is good, Cold Hour fam? This is your boy Mateo. I'm joined here today with
your boy T Ragman,
and we have a special guest on our show today, Miguel Montecinos. Say what's up, Miggy.
What's going on, guys?
And we're going to be talking about our habits, good and bad habits overall. So we hope you enjoy the show. Thank you for tuning in. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to our Cold Hour segment. I'd like to introduce Miguel. Hey, what's up, Miguel?
What's going on, everyone?
Miguel, tell the people a little bit about yourself. Where you from? Why you're
on the show today?
Why you're on the show?
What are your credibility?
Yeah, exactly. What's your credibility behind having habits and all that jazz?
All right, so I was originally born on the East Coast in Maryland, and then I transitioned out to SoCal when I was 3, and then from there on, my parents moved to different cities. So we went from Pasadena to Claremont, and then to Fontana, and throughout that whole time period, there was a huge...
Relatively, like how long? How long? You say huge.
Huge
like
time
how
gap?
long?
So I would say 3 up until now.
Okay.
And throughout that entire time frame of being out here, it was a whole shit show of going through all these bad experiences as a kid, into my teen years,
Right.
into my adulthood.
Right.
So I mean, going into habits and everything, it was just kind of being at the point now where I see everything for what it is, and then kind of reframing everything that I went through.
So habits were your way of doing that reformation of like your
like
life.
having the insight that I started having with myself. I was like, oh, I'm being a bad person because of this. I was like, oh, now it clicks. Now it makes sense. Yeah.
Right, having that insight. That's good.
If you can't share, what I mean, looking back, what do you feel were some of those like bad things that you could like recognize?
Yeah, so starting off into childhood, it was like my parents not really knowing how to parent. Like, you know, both really young, both starting off in a really fresh marriage, and one having an older stepdaughter, so having that, and then, but more so into mine, it was me being the youngest kid having to deal with their transition.
Right.
So them either punishing me physically all the time, and then them going through their own like emotional withdrawal with me, and then how that left an imprint with me psychologically. And then going through a family member molesting me a decent amount of my childhood, like that would leave a significant imprint too, you know? And then growing up from that, it was me always having to deal with the moving and everything.
Right.
So going from school to school, I always had to learn how to conform to each.
A lot of
every
adjusting
school.
and adapting.
Exactly.
Right.
And you know, for all kids, it's a matter of just wanting to fit in, wanting to be in the like higher social status of everything.
Exactly.
And I think going through all of that, it just made it that much harder. And then my parents still not knowing how to parent, even when I got to high school, it was just me fending everything for myself and figuring it out as I went. So I think what the main thing for me was realizing how much I use my vulnerability or my circumstances as like a victim-y way of like a cry for help, but getting people to have compassion towards it in a really negative way.
Okay.
So getting past victim mentality.
Yeah, definitely getting past victim mentality, but not even being aware of it, you know?
Okay.
Just like knowing I had this ability of like, oh, poor me, and then like using that to my benefit and to my gain.
Right.
And I think
throwing like a pity party or
exactly.
Some sort. Okay.
And then I think that's what really threw my relationships really off, because when it came to the intimacy of my relationships, it was a trigger for me in those vulnerable states of this girl, this female is gonna take over me. Like she's gonna violate me the way that family member did, you know? So like in me being more intimate and more vulnerable each time, it was like metaphorically, it was like me standing naked and waiting for someone to do something,
right?
You know?
Right.
And I think that once I kind of got to the hitting point of me being really, I don't know the word, me being
real with yourself is my guess.
No, it was it was me taking advantage. Oh man, I'm repeating myself.
No worries. Yeah.
No, I think it was just a matter of seeing how hurt I was causing the people I was close to the most.
So it was the impact you were having on others that made you.
Yeah, so like the way I would start pushing people away because of the fear of the vulnerability, it was me cheating, it was me just being manipulative and like lying and deceitful like throughout all of my relationships, not even just my romantic ones. And then just like withdrawing each time. So it's like I would build a really great relationship and then I would just self-sabotage completely.
Right, exactly.
And I think the turning point for me was really hurting the last girl that I dated. And it just, you know, every time I felt guilty for sure.
Of course.
Not to say she was
of
any
course.
more unique.
No. Yeah, of course. I think you got tired of it.
Yeah, I got tired of it for sure. And then once I got to the suicidal aspect of everything and getting hospitalized, and then my parents still not having empathy or compassion towards it, and still not taking the initiative of my mental health and my sense of being, it was just like, okay, I really have to take it into my own hands.
Right. How old were you at this point?
The suicide attempt?
Yeah. Well, at this stage in your life.
I was
when you were hospitalized and everything.
19. I was probably 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
So coming out of high school.
The high school and coming out of high school were definitely the hardest years for me.
Okay.
And I think that's when.
Were those times that you had? Would you say you had a lot of bad habits, or would you say that habits just didn't like exist at that time?
No. The habits definitely existed, because I think one of the main things that I learned from it was me acting the way I did was stemming from something, and no matter what was going on, I was going to habitually act the same way.
Right.
Because if you guys aren't familiar with it, the way habits form is you think a certain way and those neurons start firing. So when those neurons start firing, then you start forming synaptic systems in like a 3D version in your head, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm acting a certain way in victimy, and I've been acting that way my entire life, then no matter what, that's my default. That's my go-to. Like your brain is just meant to optimize in a sense of security, you know? Like if I'm gonna, even though I was trying to choose a different path, it was like a rubber band just snapping back. Right. And it was just like, man, what the hell? Why can't I get this down? And I think that's what one of the things I started learning about. Like I remember very specifically, I started reading about neuroplasticity. And it was just like how malleable your brain actually is at any point in time. It's just you have to repeatedly do it. You know? That's what a habit is. Right. Like it's just a set of autonomous actions, like at a subconscious level. So I think me being aware that I was just acting the same way over and over no matter what, I was like, okay, something has to give. What has to give? And it's like, oh, let's implement better habits. Right. No matter how long it takes, I want to be better. Right. So I think having that willpower and that motivation, and then, you know, having the girl that I'm dating now stick by my side no matter what, even in acting in those maladaptive habits.
Because it's not to say that those habits in the past aren't still within you, because I feel like that's so easy for us to go back into some old ways, like you're saying. Yeah. But that she's able to still be there even when those do come back. So
it was like, oh, okay, the darkness isn't so dark. Like it's like she, like the one thing that she would always repeat to me, she's like, I saw you for you. Like, yeah, you were being a fuck, but I saw past that. Like I knew that there was something beneath it, you know. And I think that goes for everyone that has like bad habits or like a bad personality trait. It's just trauma, you know, that's the main thing that everyone goes through, no matter how small or big, it's still significant to the individual. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about going into self-development or like life coaching and everything, because it's like people have bad habits no matter what. Exactly. And it's just bringing the awareness as to why they're there. Then you can completely change if you want to, you know?
Right.
What's a bad habit you see most people have? Like what's the most consistent bad habit people have?
I would say narcissism.
Narcissism?
Yeah. I think that's one that we all have, you know, especially in our day and age, you know, like the pop culture is worry about yourself. Right. Like do what you got to do to be where you need to be.
Right. Lift yourself up.
And, you know, that completely takes away that humans are made to be. You know, we're meant to be a community. You're meant to be a tribe. You know, that's how we started off evolutionary. But now it's like people are diverting from that. And now everyone's just kind of like fending from themselves and everyone's screwing themselves over. Like, I mean, you guys witness it being out in the IE and everything, you know?
I myself am narcissistic. Yeah. Like, it's like, I could admit it, you know? Yeah. It's like, I don't know. And I'd like to know where it stems from, you know? Like, it's like, and it's a trend that's growing, like you said, like amongst ourselves. Like, what has the internet done, or like this like technical revolution done to promote our own like ideals on narcissism.
Yeah.
You know, like, is it Instagram likes? Is it the fact that like we're seeking validation on social media? Is it that reason? I don't know.
No, I mean, for the most part it was. I mean, that's why it was so hard for me to fit in, because my parents were so restricting. Right. So I had to compensate for the fact they were being so limiting in how I was getting the validation and fitting in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's what made it even more complicated. But nonetheless, it was still a battle of overcoming that to this day. Yeah. You know, like having a girlfriend with a really privileged lifestyle, right. That's hard to keep up with, you know? Yeah, no, definitely. And, you know, how is it not going to trigger insecurities? Yeah. Like, even though a lot of people are used to it, it's still like, how can I keep up with that? Right. Well, I mean, that's anyone, but
right. Oh, yeah. What were some of your bad habits that you did have?
My main one was manipulation. Okay. I think, like, going back to, like, I understood how to use people's emotions to my advantage. Okay. Like, the girls I would always date that have a strong sense of empathy. It's like, okay, let me feed off of that. Right. You know, just attaching myself to it. You know, it's really a symbiotic relationship. Yeah. You know, like I was Venom and they were the host. Yeah. And I was just kind of taking them from the inside out, and then. Yeah. And that's why it would just completely break me, because it would break them. It's like I completely just tore them apart. Right. And it sucked. Yeah. You know, there was no pleasure in it. Like, now I took those bad habits and it's like, okay, these habits served a purpose. And I think that's what a lot of people...
The good ones or the bad ones?
The bad ones. Okay. You know, because I think that one of the main things that I learned in trauma from Mastin Kipp, it was like self-limiting beliefs or self-limiting responses. They're a way of getting through what you needed to go through. Right. So our narcissism got us through what we needed to get through, you know? Right. My manipulation got me through like the pain of...
Right. I see what you mean.
Yeah, like alcohol, like I became an alcoholic, but that was a great tool for me at the time to really just get through day-to-day stuff, you know?
I think that's the biggest thing with alcoholism. And it's funny because it's prevalent in the restaurant industry, you know, like... The restaurant, to be honest, I like my job. I enjoy it, but it's shitty too. Like sometimes you got to put up with some shit that you really don't want to deal with. And like by default, you see everyone drinking. You get off your like shift. What are you gonna do? You're gonna get a drink, you know. And that's what everyone does in the restaurant. You know? Everyone drinks, so that's the thing.
I think your accessibility has a big influence on what you get addicted to and what becomes your habit.
The people you surround yourself with, exactly. The people you become.
No, definitely people that you surround yourself. Would you say that surrounding yourself with I get like surrounding yourself with bad people, you're going to become a bad person, but would you say that surrounding yourself with people who are habitual, like have habits in general, whether they are good or bad, is better? Like does that influence you to have better habits in some way, or have habits in general? Or do you believe that everybody has habits? That was a lot of questions thrown all at once. Let me dissect. I'm so sorry. Let me start by saying this: like, do you believe that everybody has habits?
Most definitely. Like, I believe that habits make up the personality. You know, like because they're so subconscious. You know, like habits are going to make up at least 90% of your day because you're so set in a routine. You wake up, brush your teeth, like everything you do is a habit. It's so familiar. You do everything without thinking twice about it. Right. And I think when you start realizing what you're doing and bring more of a mindfulness awareness to it, it's like, okay, why am I doing it? Right. And I think it's unveiling the layers underneath the habits. It's like, okay, let me reframe it. Let me adjust it. You know, let me take the screwdriver, you know, turn it a little bit and then see how it fixes it from there. And I think, like, going back to the alcoholism, that's a huge thing, dude. Like, it's just meant to be addictive. It's a depressant, you know? Yeah. And it's just the way it works neurologically, it's like as soon as you deplete yourself of dopamine or serotonin, you know, feel good chemicals, your body will do anything to feel it again. Yeah. That's why people are so addicted to partying, so addicted to smoking, drinking, like Juul pods, you know, everyone's heavily addicted.
We were just talking about that yesterday too.
Yeah. It's so addictive, right? Because it's like you're so used to getting that high, and that's why you have to be careful, because it's like if you aren't careful with it, too much of anything is bad. Too much.
So how do you break out of that habit? What do you do to get out of any of these habits?
You know, I was talking about this with my girlfriend. One of the things that frustrates me is people are afraid to look at themselves truthfully. And I think that's what really gets you to break the habits. It's as to why are you doing things the way you're doing them.
Acknowledgement.
Because, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, be honest about it. Like one of the things for me was like really having a really strong sexual nature. I mean, being predisposed to child molesting as a kid, then that's gonna give me like a really sexual nature from a kid up until now. And I think that's why it was a constant back and forth in my relationships too, is like I started seeking validation in a really sexual and intimate way. And I think that was a really bad habit, you know. It's like sexual, like masturbating, you know. It's like, oh man, I have to feel it, I have to get it. And it was just like, okay, why am I doing it? It's like, oh, I was molested. Oh, that's why I'm seeking the validation from it. But yeah, that was definitely
that's
I feel it's interesting you touch on that point as being like super sexual from a kid as to now, and because only Trevor and I have touched on this before, is that we're the generation that grew up on porn. Yeah. You know, so like our entire generation super like hyper sexualized, you know, like it's crazy.
Yeah, Carl's Jr. commercials, burgers are sold through sex. Everything is sex.
That's moderate to me, you know? Like it's just that like my mind is so numb.
Yeah. Dude, I saw a commercial the other day and it was some guy taking a shower and it's like a normal shower and like the soap, like he's like lathering himself and it's like it looks like a soap commercial the entire time. I'm looking at it with my parents and my mom's like, yeah, you think it's a soap commercial? And he drops the soap and like it like all goes black and white. Yeah. And you're like, what the hell just happened? And the guy's standing up in the shower and the soap's just on the ground. It keeps cutting back and forth and then it cuts to the guy and you just see a big man's hand like on the back of his shoulder. And I'm like, why are they showing this on TV? Like this should not be. But that's what catches your attention.
Yeah, because people get an arousal out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Some people get an arousal off of that. And some people are just caught by that attention. It's like, oh, sex sells in so many different ways. Yeah. It's not just like the sexy girl anymore. It's like extreme things. Skittles has some things where it's sexual.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah, you've seen those ones.
I know
where
exactly
what you're talking about. I'm talking about. So it's anything is part of that, and that just goes back to I feel like our generation's grown up on that. And so,
and I think like that was the other conversation I was having because me and my girlfriend talk about everything. Like we literally dissect everything because it's like one of the like our lingos and terminologies is like, oh, that triggered me. It's like, why did that trigger me? You know. And I think when we were talking about porn the other day, it's like you've seen the scenarios, like guys are forceful and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm down. Right. And I think that's why rape is such a bad thing now. Like guys, the framework for sex in our society is porn. Right. And it's like, that's our foundation of everything and that's how we're going to go about it. Like if a girl says no, she really means yes. That's how it is in porn. That's how it is in porn. Yeah. She's like, stop. It's like, oh, okay, but I'll suck your dick. Yeah. You convinced me.
Yeah. Yeah. Just keep saying yes. Just keep pushing me some more. Yeah. And that'll definitely work out.
It's just so bad, dude. Like, that's just the human nature of it, you know? It's like we're seeking pleasure because we're humans, you know? But it's like you have to do it in the right ways. Right. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. And that's why you just have to look, like going back to it, that's why you have to look at yourself truthfully. Right. And if you're willing to, then you can start developing the good, better habits.
Definitely.
I forgot who it was, but they were talking about how our generation is... seeking to get away from pleasure. Like that's where we've reached as a generation. I forget exactly how it phrased there. You know what I'm talking
about? I read something similar in the alcoholism book that I got. Yeah. Because it was written to like rewire your subconscious as you read. And she was like, humans do two things. It's like to avoid pain and to seek pleasure. Yeah. I was like, oh, and you'll do anything to avoid pain. Right. You'll do anything to avoid vulnerability. But you'll do anything to like fill that void of like not being able to express it. So like being vulnerable in all the right ways, it's alleviating. Like that's why we're talking about psychedelics before the podcast. It brings all that shit in the back of your head to the forefront of your mind. It's like, deal with it. Exactly. And if you can't, you're gonna break. But if you can and you can handle it truthfully, then there's pleasure in it. It's like, oh, that feels fucking good. I let it out. Yeah, it's finally out there. Exactly. I'm not in pain.
Yeah. No, definitely. I feel like that's a big thing is that people don't like to be vulnerable, and it's funny because I noticed it in myself that I don't like to be by myself for too long. Like with nothing going on around me, TV, music. I have to have something around me. My phone. Otherwise, I can't be in my own thoughts by myself.
Need a stimulus.
I need a stimulus to keep going, and that's just part of I can't deal with what's going on in my head, and sometimes it's like. Just shit going on with work or with school, and sometimes it's personal shit, but it's just I can't deal with that. And so one of the reasons why I want to establish some more better habits is to be able to deal with that comfortably and healthy.
Yeah.
So,
and Jason Silva like gave a perfect, like I'm paraphrasing it for sure, but he was like, when you have an internal conflict and internal agitation, then like you'll do anything externally to distract yourself from it. Like if you can't sit with the discomfort of that internal agitation, you'll do anything. You'll be on your phone, go through social media, like everything you do is just a distraction. So as soon as you can sit in the solitude of your own discomfort, then it's like, then you can get somewhere. Yeah. Then you, that's why the psychedelics work.
Yeah. So who would you say are some people or a person that helped you develop better habits? Like as you were coming out of this, you know, I want to say trial period of your life is a long time, but I would say trial period of your life to test you in this way that you are able to adapt again in a more beneficial way and developing some good habits too, or what helped you get out of that?
My girlfriend Maddie, she like having that level of accountability was nice, and her consistently through all of my bad habits was definitely the most beneficial thing for me at the time.
Shout out to Maddie.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, going back to my parents, they didn't give two shits. Right. You know, there was no level of accountability. There was critical accountability, but that's not constructive.
Exactly.
You know, as a kid, not receiving any level of empathy or compassion.
Praise or anything like that.
And even now to this day, overcoming all of those things and being a completely different person, there's still no level of acknowledgement, but there is with her. And that's where the level of motivation really comes from. It's, okay, if she's really willing to stick with me through this, there's no reason why I can't keep going. And I think the unconditional love that she's been able to give me and that I've been able to give her, it's what's been able to really develop us both together and individually.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Because helping her overcome her bad habits, it was definitely a level of unconditional patience and love.
She probably, I'm guessing she had her own bad habits, but did she implement some good habits into your life? Like, did she bring some of those into
absolutely.
yours? And what are some?
So she taught me to be an adult. You know, like,
it's a good habit to have.
Because her development was completely different from mine.
Absolutely.
You know? Like her parents structured it with unconditional love, and they taught her how to, you know, step by step handle things independently. And her bringing that to my table really changed the level of maturity that I had. Because for me, I was always stuck in that childlike mindset. You know, I was living in a fight or flight of, you know, regressing and not knowing how to grow up. Because, you know, growing up, like that feeling of maturity, I felt like I couldn't handle it because no one gave me the appraisal of, no, you can do this. You can do this. Exactly. It was just always like, no, I can't do it. You know, I'm just going to blow all my money, you know, not grow up, and I'm just going to keep going back to my baseline of living. But I think one of the best habits she definitely taught me was just radical truth and just unconditional patience. You know, like the level of patience she gave me, it made me give it to myself. And I think that's what has made it really pay off the most. It was just, everything is a day-by-day process. Everything is step-by-step. You know, one of the things I always tell my friends in helping them overcome their bad habits is baby steps. You know, let's start with something small. Let's look at one thing for now and then kind of go from there.
I think that's my problem, is I like to jump in with a big amount on my plate, and then I don't end up implementing them because it's just too much to take on. Yeah, exactly. I don't do it the first time, and so then I'm like, oh well, I can't ever do it now. Like, I just have to give up on the habit completely. And so I think, like you said, baby steps are good. Biting off a little bit by a time and building on that. You know, once you're able to handle that, building on it for sure.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know what I was gonna say, but yeah, good habits was well, no, actually, just kidding. I do know what I was gonna ask. How did you see that patience was a habit that you had implemented? Like, what defining factor were you like, oh shit, I'm becoming a more patient individual?
I think what it was for me, it was, you know, the amount of relapsing that I had, you know, like going back to me being an alcoholic, as soon as I read the book, The Naked Mind, within the first chapter, I just stopped drinking. And then from there for 6 months, I just stopped drinking. And I think, you know, what was the really defining factor in it? It was the amount of peer pressure I would still get from my friends that weren't being understanding of it. And I think with me giving myself the discipline of knowing that it was going to pay off long term, it showed, you know, after the 6 months, you know, like now I drink every now and then, but the defining factor in that, it was just the long term of everything that you're gonna do in terms of habits. Like if in Mark Manson's book or PDF that I was reading a couple of days ago, it was him like, if you can delay the gratification instead of like wanting the instantaneous gratification and everything, then that's what's going to really make you more successful, financially stable. You know, like what you were talking about, you can't start off with something huge.
Exactly.
Because if you do that, you're going to get discouraged. Right. And it's just better to start off with those smaller steps. You know, like an overweight person should start off with at least 4 minutes of running, you know, not like I'm going to work out and lose these 20 pounds in these 10 weeks.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. And they're going to feel bad when they fucking eat something bad. And it's like, fuck it. I'm just not going to do it.
Done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think... No, but that to answer your question, that's
patience.
What it was.
I think that's a great point, and I didn't read that, but I definitely believe in having great patience. I feel like patience.
I lack patience. I need patience.
Patience is something that
this guy reminds me to be patient all the time. Like, fuck, why isn't
I would
this
test
shit?
myself. I would definitely. I've found that to be something that I was like, I really want to be a patient person. I don't want to be somebody who's fucking like, not to say that reactive. You are this way, because you're not, but there are some people who are reactive, and there are times where I wouldn't say reactive, but I like to do things quick, not spontaneous, because spontaneous has a great connotation to it, but not instinctual. I can't think of the word, but fuck it, it's not
impulsive.
Impulsive. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm very impulsive.
Gotcha.
Which is I was too. Yeah. Which is a big problem. So I like to have patience, but I'm very impulsive. So they kind of go in colliding. But I definitely believe in having that patience. Definitely. A lot of things in life don't come right away. You don't get instant gratification, and I think that's why we struggle a lot with social media. Is that's not how we're supposed to react. Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see this next generation, how they come up with it. But especially with this going on, I know patience is something that we try to, that I'm trying to help you with, and something that I'm struggling with. But
in the words of Gary Vee, I find myself being patiently impatient. Like I like to do everything I can. It's the patient part that I struggle with. You know, like I do, and you know me. Like I push myself and I do everything I can to that day. Yeah. But at the same time, part of me wants the reward at the end of the day. Yeah. But I like what you said. It's delayed gratification. Yeah. You got to wait for it to come by.
Yeah. And in Robert Greene's book, you know, the one that I have in my bag, one of the quotes that stuck out to me the most that I've stuck with is, you know, patience is a virtue of the gods. You have all the time in the world. And it's like,
that's so true.
Yeah,
that's
it's so like, true. Okay, I'm a fucking god. You know, I have patience. No one's going to tell me shit.
That's funny. Yeah, patience is a great habit to build. Definitely. I mean, you're a well-fit guy. I feel like you go to the gym, or at least keep your body in tune, probably eating right too. That's also a good habit.
Oh yeah, you know, and it's what we're talking about before the podcast. You know, what can you do in terms of mind, body, spirit? Right. You know, and like what habits can you develop in those three areas and those three domains that are really gonna elevate your sense of being.
So what are the big three that you do? So for mind, what do you do?
For mine, it's probably meditation. Like a lot of introspection for sure. Like
overreading.
That's a good habit.
Huh?
Overreading.
Ooh. No, with reading. Like with reading? Conjunction with reading for sure. Like in Laws of Human Nature.
If you had to pick one habit between the two, which one would it be? Which one do you feel is more important?
Reading.
Yeah,
because as I read, I'm having introspection.
I feel like meditation is very good for spiritual too, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's what the meditating would probably fall into more so is the
spiritual.
Yeah,
the spiritual.
Because with mine, it's definitely reading. Like in Laws of Human Nature, I have to be patient with it, dude, because the amount of research that he did into it, it's looking at yourself with a lot of truth, because he's really aggressive in his writing, and it's just.
This is Robert Greene's book?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just a lot of truth about how we are as humans, you know, and like it's like laws of compulsion, laws of defensiveness, you know, it's like all these really dark aspects of us. Right. And it's like, okay, here's all your shit. How are you going to be better? Here's how to like use it in a better way. And that's definitely one of the books that's helping me the most right now. Awesome. Like that's my Bible.
Do you know the title of it?
Laws of Human Nature.
Laws of Human Nature.
Laws of Human Nature.
He has a couple other ones too. Yeah, Mastery.
Laws of Mastery. Laws of Seduction. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I've never heard of them. This is my first time here. I've heard the name Robert Greene.
Yeah.
Never heard of him.
He's been on a couple of podcasts. He's been on Aubrey Marcus' podcast twice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Highly recommend.
That's dope. So mind was reading, spiritual was meditation, and then what was for the body?
Body, I would say body would just be breathing, mindful breathing and just stretching, you know, like really grounding yourself, getting out of your head and into your body. Like I really like Dr. Joe Dispenza because he always talks about how you have to have a coherent mind and body approach to everything. Like if you're too incoherent in your mind, everything's stressing you out. Everything's going to be out of whack and incoherent. And I think mindful breaths are a great way to, you know, really ground yourself in the present, you know, and that's what a lot of the people that I really look up to talk about, being in the present moment. What's the great way to get there? Okay, how are you standing? How are you breathing? Because if you're shallow breathing, it's just you're breathing through your mouth. What, are you good? Okay, sorry.
Technical
We've had some technical difficulties, so we're just making sure everything's all good.
We good.
Like Aubrey Marcus, the one thing he talks about consistently in his podcast is 60 breaths is enough to change your like inner state of being.
Wow, 60
breaths. Japanese research. Yeah.
Interesting. Is that just like if I just take 60 breaths, or is it? Wow.
Just 60 breaths.
Change your way of thinking.
Change your state of being internally.
Your state of being internally. Okay.
And I think like going through anything in my day-to-day now, it's, you know, how am I breathing? You know, like, or even with impulsivity, like we were talking about earlier, it's taking that step back. It's like, before I act impulsively, like, let me take a step back, let me breathe, let me deconstruct, you know, like that's the good habit I just have second nature now.
When I look back on it, I definitely do that. Take a deep breath before I even, because I recognize that when I'm acting impulsively now, but I'll do that. I'll be like, take a deep breath,
that too.
And
that's a good one.
But I didn't think about it. That's just what I do. I just kind of take a deep breath and then.
And
I should have done that before the stupid pull-up thing yesterday.
Did he tell you?
No.
It was ridiculous. At the 626 market, there was this little like
pull-up competition. Yeah, it was not even a pull-up competition. It was holding on.
It was a carnival game. You had to hold on to a bar. And I go to the gym.
You get $100 if you hold on for 2 minutes.
You pay $20. You just got to hold on to the bar for 2 minutes. I'm like, fucking easy. Like, I've done this before. I could do it again.
Yeah.
Little did I know that the bar fucking spins. It spins. There's like a...
Fuckers.
Yeah, I know. I was pissed. Had I taken a deep before, I probably would have thought twice or actually thought about it. I went in, I'm like, I can do that.
That's not a bad thing to be impulsive about, though, normally.
I lost $20.
I mean...
Losing money in that way is always impulsive.
I mean, that's like gambling, I guess.
I'm just mad I got gypped.
It's a bad thing. It's understandable.
No, but back to the mind, body, spirit. Those are definitely my three main things.
That's awesome.
I think you know, those three things, they're all interdependent of each other. Like everything just starts branching off from there. You know, it's all a hierarchy of something. It's like it's not just those three things. It's like, okay, what can I do with those three things, and how can I really go more in depth with it? Because like the mind frame that I have is it's just, what levels, what layers can I keep going through, because it's obviously there for a purpose, and you know, 10% of conscious, 90% subconscious, you know, it's like, so what 90% is being activated, because you're not going to think it. No. It's like the example that I heard in a podcast one time. It's like the cigarette addict that's trying to stop smoking. It's like, okay, I'm feeling a little munchy, let me go to the gas station, get some chips. And it's like, cigarettes. Okay, might as well get them. I'm already here. It's like, is that why you really went to the gas station? Or was it a subconscious thing for be like, let me trick you. I kind of want it, but I really want the nicotine. Want those cigarettes.
That's funny. It's like a coworker of mine. He just got hired on a weekend. He's telling me, he's like, I want to quit drinking, blah, blah, blah. And he applied to work at a bar. I work at a bar. I'm like, I just thought it was like, good luck. He lasted 2 weeks. He got drunk at a bar, at our bar. Fucking, it was a shit show. He got fired the next day.
That sucks.
But it's the irony, like the fact that, like, if you want to quit drinking, you don't go work at a bar.
You don't surround yourself with.
You don't surround yourself with alcohol if you want to quit drinking.
You know, and that's why you got to go back to like looking at yourself truthfully. Like, okay, are you really wanting to stop drinking if you're going to go work at a bar?
Being completely honest.
If you are at that level, you know, good for you. It's a great challenge for sure. Like, push yourself to be in the discomfort of your temptation. But at the end of the day, like, you just have to know your limits, and if you don't know them, you're gonna fall.
Absolutely.
I mean, learn from the lessons from falling, because relapsing is always, you know, it's part of the process, but it's just...
What's one simple good habit you could tell the people to implement?
One simple good habit. That's a hard one. That's honestly a hard one. One simple good habit.
Like, if they're like we've approached ourselves, you and I could both admit that we're fucks in the past, right?
Yeah.
So what if you were listening to our podcast, what's something that would be like, damn, I could start here?
I don't know why it didn't come to my mind to begin with, but being vulnerable, you know, whether it's, you know, journaling your own shit, that way it's more personal, or someone that you're really close with that you know you can trust, implement vulnerability. Like vulnerability is strength. It is
I've
courage.
Heard journaling's a great way.
It is, you know, like you can write whatever the fuck you want. Like you piece together a lot more. And I think the more vulnerable you are with yourself, the faster you can go through those layers that we're talking about. And that's what's frustrating about people who, I'll drop my cup. But that's why it's so frustrating for the people that don't want to have that level of vulnerability, because it's like you want to fix yourself, like you want to stop drinking, you know, you want to stop whatever addictive bad habits that you have, but you're not willing to be honest with yourself as to why you have them. And yeah, I think that's what you have to start. It's looking at yourself vulnerable and what traumas, you know, more than anything are shielding you from being vulnerable. You know, your nervous system is meant to defend you from vulnerability. Like Mastin Kipp, you know, he's a trauma-informed coach. The example he uses is like a smart girl would say, okay, John cheated on me. But your nervous system is going to say all men are cheaters, you know, to protect you. And that makes complete sense. But like in the beginning of the podcast, it only goes so far. At the end of the day, it's okay, now you have to take yourself out of that. Because if you don't, now you're just going to be stuck being resentful towards men for the rest of your life. And now you're never going to be in a healthy relationship. Yeah. Vulnerability. Yeah. That's
what about you, Trevor? What's one simple good habit you think that people should implement?
One that the people should implement? Drink more water.
That's a great one.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's the first thing I do in the morning.
Yeah, you have to. It's a great one.
Yeah,
I love drinking water. I just feel better. I feel like my skin is better.
Cold showers.
Healthy. We were talking about that cold shower.
No, they're best. That's all I take now.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, like take warm ones for my comfort. For the most part, it's just cold. Like cold
it's
showers.
Easy to get started right now too because it's hot out.
Oh yeah. It's winter time. Oh
yeah. When I first started, I was hyperventilating like a motherfucker.
But
now it's just like okay, I can chill.
Right. That's awesome. I can't even take cold showers at my house because my water is always hot, like scalding hot. Not just like. We're talking like fucking burning up.
Melt your skin
degrees. Yeah.
Damn.
So I don't get a cold shower benefit, but I'd love to take them if I could.
Yeah. They suck. They suck for like the first week. There was a period of time where like I had to play fucking like hype up music to even get in. I jump in, fucking start doing karate in the shower just to fucking exactly. Fucking get ready for it.
Yeah.
My habit's probably what's it called? Doing my bed. Well, it's not done right now. It's the irony.
No, it is.
Know? It's kind of done. That wasn't me. That was my dog. That was my dog. That's why it's all fucked up. But my bed's always done. But no, it expanded. It went from being just my bed at first to my room. Like my room, I used to have like a corner of my it's crazy, and I didn't even try. Like there'd be days where I'd wake up and my bed was already done just because I like slept on top of my bed. I'm like, fuck, well, I got like 5 minutes. What could I do? Like clean my room now, you know?
Yeah.
And right now, my room has reached a point where I don't think I could like clean it anymore. So I jumped onto the backyard. I kid you not. Yeah. Like, it's just like, awesome. What else can I do? Like, why not expand it to like another level, you know?
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
So I'm worried backyard's my project.
I've heard that that's a good thing too, is to like make your bed like right when you wake up. It's like a sense of accomplishment. You get that. I think it's dope.
The higher productivity.
Right, exactly. You get that. And I think you stem really well off of productivity when you get something done.
Hell yeah.
Like you just keep going with that. So that's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah, if I have a good morning, the rest of my day is taken off. It's still like compounded throughout the day. Like
that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good habits are great to have. I was reading a couple things of 3 ways to form better habits. One is the 3 R's of habit change, and the R's are reminder, routine, and reward. So I thought it was pretty interesting.
Loop.
Yeah. So that was pretty interesting. And then there's 3 ways to break bad habits, and one is to replace it with good ones. So if you can find a good habit that either counteracts your bad habit or just filling it with a different habit, when you get triggered by something for your bad habit, just go into that good habit and do something else instead, and it just rewires your brain in that sense.
Like the perspective you have on anything is crucial, you know? Like everyone goes through looking at certain thing with a certain like lens of perception, and like they don't think they could take them off, but it's like, okay, let me take off these lenses, let me try on these, and let me see how beneficial it can be.
Exactly. I think you talked about it a lot when you were talking about your girlfriend Maddie. accountability. Having that accountability is a good thing, and I feel like having an accountability, whether it is yourself, if you're able to have that self accountability, because that's not easy to do.
Oh no.
But if you
can
are
justify anything,
exactly, you can do that easily, and that's like what you were saying with the whole
like drinking and
chips. Chips. I'm going to the gas station for chips and I'm getting cigarettes. Having that accountability of like, hey, where are you going? Hey, make sure you just get chips, or you're with you. Hey, we just came for chips. Having that accountability is great to have, and it's great to set up. And if you're blessed with somebody that has that, like you are with Maddie, that's awesome. So find that accountability partner is a good thing to have, especially with habits.
Definitely.
Agreed. Yeah.
You're keeping me on with saving money, so
I do. Yeah. It's one step forward. It's what's it called? That book right there, Richest Man in Babylon. That's the one that set me off. After that, it's just made me more financially like what's the word? Conscious.
Yeah.
Like once you're conscious with your finances, that's when your money starts growing,
Exactly.
Like most people get money like, oh, what should I spend it on?
Yeah.
But rather like how can I make my money make me more money and all that
delayed
jazz,
gratification.
Yeah, exactly. All the equipment, everything we've done in the podcast, I don't see it like it's spending money, but investing. It's investing in ourselves and like pushing something that
I feel like habits are a great way to invest in yourself and try to build yourself in a positive influence.
They are. Yeah, it's a big investment in yourself. Yeah. It's not like a you don't see the financial gain from it, but it compounds, like the habits I built 2-3 years ago are what got me my promotion at my job.
Right.
It was like learning how to talk, learning how to like say what I need to say.
Right.
And that was a habit. That was like learning how, and I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this, is learning how to adjust yourself in a like a gentleman, mannerable way, like how to I don't even know how to phrase it, but how to talk to people is a skill I learned through habits.
Yeah, that's a big thing, how to talk to people. Because some people you meet, they don't even know how to talk.
Nope.
And that's one step forward. That's like one. If you don't know how to talk, and you don't know how to talk, that's one step in the right direction. Because at least you know what the problem is, and you can start taking steps towards it.
And that's why reading's been huge, for like anyone that's been doing what we're into, like taking care of yourself. And it's just learning that there's different ways to do certain things. Right. It's like there's not just certain one thing. It's like people get discouraged. It's like, no, let me learn something else.
Yeah.
And I think reading's just been a great tool for that too. Just taking different stuff for different topics.
So for you, it was reading, breathing, and meditation, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yours was water.
Drinking water. Yeah, drinking water.
What would you throw that in? Physical or body?
Yeah,
I would throw that in your body.
What about spirit and mind?
Oh, spirit and mind. That's a good one. Spirit and mind. I like meditation. If I was diligent at it, I think it offers a lot. For meditation, and that's not just like Om stuff. I feel like a lot of people, when you say meditation, they think like, pinkies in hand, whatever, cross like
way too many ways.
There's so many different ways to meditate, and I feel like meditation is a great way for the spirit. That was spirit, right?
Yeah, spirit.
So mind. I want to say coding for me is one.
Really?
I enjoy coding, and that gives me a time for my mind to just act.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a great way for my mind to build some thought. Because I'm not a good reader. Like we talked about before the podcast, I'm not a good reader. I'm more of a math guy. And so I like to code. I was trying to code a website not so long ago. And so something that I enjoy doing.
Interesting. My girlfriend was telling me I should start making a blog, but I was like, I'm not creative enough to be doing that.
Hey, dude, you know what? Like blogs, a lot of people think that they think that they're not creative enough, and I felt that this way about the podcast. But I feel like getting into it and just forcing it, you just end up doing it.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of times where the idea with trying to restructure, I had a creative idea, and that
was a hard one because I wasn't ready for it. But yeah,
that was awesome. I mean, It's fun though. It's fun. It's different.
It's a wild experience.
It is. I'm enjoying it a lot. So I would check out your blog if you want to do that. That'd be awesome. Yeah. And I feel like you have a great insight as with all this. I'm learning so much.
Oh yeah, man. This is all just surface level. Like if we had more time, we could definitely go.
Awesome. This is awesome. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm sure the people who are listening are enjoying it too. Because this is stuff that I feel like it takes somebody to read a book to know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's not, I feel like I'm not talking like super high where I don't get it. I feel like I understand exactly what you're saying and I can relate to it.
Yeah, so it's completely applicable.
Awesome.
You know, people are just intimidated by it, and that's why when it comes to people that don't know how to converse, like when I'm engaging with them now, like I really pride myself in conversing with people now. But now it's like, when I run into people from my past and they see how I am now, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what happened to you?
Yeah, like now they really don't know how to connect anymore because it's not like, it's not bullshit stuff. It's not gossip. It's not about getting drunk or partying. Exactly. Or like who's fucking who. It's like, no, let's talk about like you. Like, what are you trying to pursue with your life? You know, it's like, I know what I'm doing. And it's like,
yeah, dude, there's so many people
stagnant.
like
You changed, they didn't.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
That happens a lot. That wraps up our show on habits. Miguel, thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely, guys. I really appreciate this.
What's your IG handle for the people to follow you?
Miguel_Monty. And I have been super insecure with posting lately because like the first 2 posts, like they were super vulnerable about my growth and everything. But then for whatever reason, I just got discouraged. But I will definitely be posting more.
You know, I feel like a lot of people's discouragement could be a lot of people's like inspiration.
True.
So,
yeah. Like
I've been inspired a lot by people that I see post stuff like that, and it's awesome to hear that because then it allows for me to, see like, hey, I'm not the only one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's awesome. So
awesome.
Miguel_Monty.
Yeah, Monte. Yeah,
Monte. Thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Yeah,
we hope to have you again sometime soon.
Absolutely.
We'll throw you on a topic that you feel confident in or whatever that jazz is. But this is the Cold Hour. Thanks for tuning in. This is your boy Mateo.
It's your boy T. Raglan.
Thank you so much. Catch us on our next episode coming sometime this week. Thank you. Hope you learned something.
Peace.